Hi, everyone. My name is Danica Davidman. I am the Supervisor of Student Services here in Kinnelon, and I'm very happy to bring this presentation to you tonight. We are joined by NJ4S, which is under the New Jersey Department of Children and Families, and it's a statewide hub of services and resources that support youth mental wellness. NJ4S provides prevention and brief intervention services to New Jersey public school students, parents, caretakers, and school faculty. So today we have two NJ4S clinicians who are here to give us one of their preventative services with this talk. We wanted to address this topic because we have all seen as educators that students are really engaged in social media, and for better or worse, we find that parents are often wondering, how can they address this? What's the best way to give kids access to social media? How much should they have? And we all saw a need in terms of students' inner states and how they might be affected by their activity on social media, their feelings and their responses. So when we found out that NJ4S was going to be able to provide us with this service, we asked if they would speak about this topic. And so with that, I want to introduce to you our two presenters. We have Jonathan Hinkes, who has a background in sociology and psychology. He has been providing direct care in the mental health field for over 25 years. He currently works at NJ4S as a consultant, and he provides education and consultation services for student-aged youth, their families, and school districts. And we also are joined by Taisha Matthew, who is as well employed by NJ4S as a prevention consultant. She as well provides education and training services and has her master's in public health education and is certified in child advocacy and policy, and has been working with youth for over 8 years. So with that, I will take it away to our two presenters. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
so much.
That was a great introduction, Tanika. Thank you. All right. Today's topic, I was going to do a long introduction about what NJ4S does, but we got such a great introduction that doesn't even seem necessary anymore. I might go into a little bit of the more nuanced ins and outs of what NJ4S does, but you've already been given a pretty good synopsis of the NJ4S format. So today we're talking about teens, screens, and social media addressing mental health in the digital age. You comfortable with digital age, or have you given that any thought since then? Are we still in the digital age? Or?
We are.
I think we're on the cusp.
We're really into it now.
All right. I still think we're on the cusp, and it's time for a new name, but let's get it done. All right. So NJ4S, as you've already heard, is through the Department of Children and Families at the state of New Jersey. This is an innovative effort on the part of the state to address social ills and mental health concerns. We are mostly about education, about upstream prevention, and also counseling for when youth are identified who might need a little extra help, and also referrals, resources, and information as well too. Excuse me. So we have multiple tiers of services, and those can be explained in detail. But for right now, I'd like to just get right into it, if you don't mind.
All righty, so, okay. So our agenda this evening will be about mental health, social media, benefits and risks, safety tips, setting healthy limits, supporting safe practices and resources. Now, we can move forward.
Sure.
Thank you. So content warning that we will be discussing just a few sensitive topics. So some of the topics have strong emotions, so some can include depression, anxiety, eating disorders, addiction and misuse, cyberbullying, and if you do need a break, please just excuse yourself or just take some time away from the computer just to give yourself some time to decompress and then come back, okay? So, mental health versus mental illness. So one thing's for sure, mental health, we all have mental health. It's just like physical health. It's depicted through our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, okay? And it goes hand in hand when it comes to our physical health. Now, when you look into mental illness now, first off, mental illness can be diagnosed by a mental health professional. So we all do not have mental illness, but we all experience mental health, okay? Such as from school, home life, friendships, and more. Mental illness can affect a person's way of thinking, feeling, and behavior and moods, okay?
Taisha explained it wonderfully, but it's just a reminder to resist the urge to self-diagnose. Make sure that you're getting diagnosed by a professional when, and we'll talk about some of the warning signs and symptoms that you're going to be looking out for. But please resist that urge to self-diagnose.
So no Google scrolling to figure out what's going on, why am I feeling this way 3-4 times a week. It's better to go to a professional just to have further assistance and guidance.
Right. I think it's also an important time to mention the robust efforts at anti-stigma campaigns that have been going on for such a long time. We want to make sure that people are taking care of their mental health just as they would take care of their physical health. This is critically important that we stop viewing mental illness in the inferior or secondary manner that we have been for such a long time.
That's right.
Okay, so this is where we were going to get into an initial self-check-in. I was looking and curious to see how family members, how parents, caregivers are with their modeling of social media use or misuse. So I'd like to ask, have you asked yourself right now, did you use any social media or technology today? Taisha, did you use it?
Yes, I did, right before coming here.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
All right, thank you for the confession. I did too. I kept it to a minimum today. I'm doing better. In social media, where you get your information about things that interest you. It's a tough call. There's a lot of information out there, as everybody knows. So it's a lot of filtering out some bad information, some misinformation as well too. Does social media make you feel connected to friends and family? That was the original purpose, right? That's what we came initially for. Do you sometimes feel like you can't go a day without social media? I've certainly tried that fasting from social media before. It is not easy, and if you're finding it difficult, well, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about when it becomes problematic. Do you think social media is good, bad, or both? We're not here to answer that question for you directly. This is a personal matter, and I'm thinking the obvious answer here, though, is it's got its mixed bag here. It's a mixed bag of good and bad here. Do you sometimes stay up later than planned because of social media use? Oh, it's almost as if you were watching what I've been doing lately. Yeah, that's just been a problem. I've got to stop, make that a cutoff time at night, and please cut off the communications at a certain point. Now, with these questions in mind, and how you answer them as parents, caregivers, I'd like you to think for a moment about how your student age child would answer these questions as well too. These are individuals who have been born into this digital age. They don't know what life was like without it. So there's a very different relationship with our youth and to how perhaps we as older generation folks address social media and utilize social media. So all these things are critically important to think about as we go through tonight's presentation. So, what are the benefits of social media? As I said before, we're not gonna draw the conclusion for you. It's really up to you to decide whether social media is a positive or a negative for your family. But some of the obvious benefits, again, communication. This is incredible. Right now, I'm involved in chess matches with people on every single inhabitable continent across the world right now. It's really incredible. There's no shortage to the amount of communication that you can engage in, and if you have an interest, you can share these interests with people across the globe. It's really quite incredible. Community. This is there's a representation for just about every community out there on social media. I want to be very mindful right now to our LGBTQ folks as well too. If there's not representation where you live of your that you want to participate in a community that's not represented where you live, I should put it that way, online social media is perhaps the best way to do that. Expression, artistic expression. We use social media to express ourselves, to share content and ideas. I'm amazed every single day at what I see online, what people are able to do, utilizing the media or utilizing media that's been around for a lot longer, and that they're able to spread their gift as far as they can at this point. And entertainment, indulging in the content we enjoy, and it's supposed to be about fun. This is what we come here for. We're waiting for in the doctor's office, perhaps. So, if going to the doctor's office is still something that we have to do, and how do we let the time go by? We're usually scrolling on our phones. We're usually consuming social media. Actually, anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, when it comes to community representation and culture and identity, so I would feel like, especially for myself, being born and raised here, but I have family that were born and raised in Haiti, I do have an opportunity like with Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok to communicate with them. So you can imagine having individuals that have families all over, and this is their resource to communicate. This is their resource to know what's going on in another world. That's another world. Another country is another world. Let's say, for example, in Ukraine, they have loved ones that you're concerned about. You want to know, is everything okay? Did you have food this week? What's going on? And so these benefits are really important, especially communication, expressing yourself, being able to voice your opinions, advocate for something that's important to you. This is our platform, the first initial platform to voice our opinions, especially the youth and young adults. This is very helpful at times for us.
Good point. All right. No shortage of benefits of social media. Thank you.
That is true.
Okay, so on the flip side, we got the negative consequences of social media, and there are quite a few, and they can be quite serious. So first off, we'll talk about, and we're going to get into each of these in a little more detail shortly with the next couple of slides. Comparison. It's very dangerous aspect of social media that we're constantly comparing ourselves to what we're seeing online. I had a client of mine that would always say, how did he phrase it? He said, I'm always looking at people's, I'm drawing a complete blank on how he said it right now. It was well done. Something to the effect of.
Comparison is a thief of joy.
Oh, yes. We'll get to Teddy Roosevelt. We'll get to Teddy Roosevelt's quote in just a bit. This is another quote that he was just talking off the cuff, and he was saying, I'm living out my blooper reel while looking at everybody else's highlight reel. And that always stuck to me. It's true. What people are presenting online is they're going to give you the best of the best, and they're filtering out and editing out all the negatives. And meanwhile, we're living our own lives. We're seeing ourselves in the worst possible situation. So just be mindful of that. That what you're seeing is, well, quite frankly, it's not reality. It's an altered reality. So comparison. Addiction and misuse. We had a lot of back and forth actually about which term we were going to use, about whether the continued use in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Addiction is relevant here, or if misuse was a better term. Maybe we'll kind of parse that out as we go through the slides here. Fear of missing out, FOMO. I'm completely familiar with this aspect. I think we all are. Just a reminder that for youth, for student age youth, it is to the nth degree more serious, just because their lives, they exist online much more than we do, perhaps. They've never had the situation where real life was the only way to, I shouldn't even call it real life anymore, but I think you get my meaning here. So missing out with what's going on online is a tremendous disadvantage when people don't have access. Cyberbullying, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well too. We're going to talk about harassment, intimidation, and bullying, how it fits in as well in just a little bit.
With that being all said, let's dive into a comparison. So, body image is a dissatisfaction. May cause unhealthy eating habits or disordered eating, poor self-esteem and self-image, unrealistic expectations, peer pressure. So this right here opens up a lot of ideas when it comes to the idea of jealousy, The idea of thinking, well, maybe I should be just like this person. People are starting to lose their identity. Youth are starting to lose their identities too. Because just because you see a snippet, a snapshot of what you see one person is doing, doesn't mean that's who they are as a person all the time. The same way when you have the opportunity to go somewhere and meet new people, just for a snapshot of a moment, that's how you're acting, but that's not who you are. And when it comes to body imaging, everyone's bodies are beautiful. Everyone's different. Some people are tall, some people are short, some people have curly hair, straight hair, dark colored hair, twists, curls. So not having the opportunity to appreciate who you are as an individual really does strike a lot of nerves and also limits the opportunity of increasing your self-esteem. And that is something that we really have to emphasize a lot with our youth and emphasizing with ourselves too. Because at times we might see someone like, oh, maybe if I lost some weight, I might look like this, but you never know. But in due time, you will lose the weight that you want to, but it shouldn't have to be because you saw someone else. It should be due to your choice, your feelings, your conditions.
Good point. And
Yes.
there's no, it's not new that sources of media have been feeding us unrealistic body images, unrealistic that we compare ourselves to. What is new, perhaps, is that there's now algorithms that are filtering all this information to young people, particularly young women, and saying, perhaps in a way that's extremely negative, that is filtering information about eating disorders and things like that. It's the potential for harm is very much, we have to be cognizant of these things throughout.
And some include, since you're mentioning harm, anorexia, bulimia, body dysmorphia, like those conditions can be very traumatic. It's life-changing. It changes you. And so this is the time for us to really consider what's going on when it comes to peer pressure and having these unrealistic expectations. You're supposed to eat 3 times a day if you can. You're supposed to be healthy, working out, exercise, best of your physical capabilities, not according to what you saw on here from what other people are doing.
And this is where we wanted to talk about comparison being the thief of joy.
Yes.
I jumped the gun a little bit on it. Yes, perfectly understandable, but absolutely true. If you are comparing yourself, if you're not spending time with self-love, you're not spending time with you are most likely looking at yourself in a self-deprecating, derogatory manner. So again, something to be cognizant about when we're talking with our young ones and our individuals for which we're intended to give care. So let's see. According to the Surgeon General, teens who spend more than 3 hours per day on social media face double the risk of poor mental health outcomes, including symptoms of depression and anxiety. That's 70% of teens and young adults in the U.S. experience social media addiction. These are alarming numbers. We'll get more into some statistics in a little bit too. But 3 hours per day on social media, my phone tells me exactly how much I've been utilizing, and I'm surprised every time. It's more than I was expecting. So 3 hours per day happens on a regular basis. And again, we're doubling the risk of poor mental health outcomes.
All right. FOMO, fear of missing out, loneliness, depression, reduced emotional well-being, dissatisfaction with social wellness. So, just as a quick recap, if everyone can remember, even though it was a very traumatic time for all of us, the pandemic was something very traumatic for all of us. There wasn't someone that had a better experience than another. We all were in the unknown. So when you think of loneliness, think of those times when we were all isolated. We didn't have a chance to communicate, and now we do have the tool to communicate. But now we're back in schools, we're back at work, we're back in engagement, and now you're 16 or you're 13. You found out that your friends can go to this party and you can't go, and so now you're like, okay, it wasn't too bad. But then the next day, all you see is everyone on their Instagram, everyone's on their Snapchat, everyone's on TikTok. You're like, you're missing out. You're like, wow, why couldn't I do this? Oh, I know how to spend time with grandma and grandpa, but why couldn't I do this? So the idea of feeling as though not feeling satisfied with their social wellness. Family stability is important as well. And this is when the jealousy can start coming in. If I could be like this person, maybe things will be better for me. Why couldn't this happen at the time that I wanted it to happen? So those are things that we really have to think about, and especially even as adults. Let's say we have the kids out during the summertime and we're at work. We don't have a chance to maybe have that me time sometimes. We think about those things and it happens unconsciously. But we have to also think back, how would the kids feel the same way we're feeling?
We were talking about it in the office today, and the technology exists now where you can see on your phone that all your friends are congregated at somebody else's house, and you're sitting there with your phone, and you're not there. These are things that didn't really exist before, and loneliness, isolation. I think you hit the nail on the head here. This is critically important. Cyberbullying. Posting, well, let's define it. Posting inappropriate or private pictures of someone else, tagging someone in a hurtful post or commenting hurtful things under a post, texting negative things about someone, and sharing hurtful content. There's a lot to go into regarding cyberbullying. This is a very delicate subject for caregivers, for children as well too. And when it comes down to it, we have to ask the question, obviously we don't want our loved ones to be victims of cyberbullying, but do we really know that our loved ones are not also participating in some manner in cyberbullying? It's not the clear-cut movie script definitions of bullying and victim that it once was. There are many other roles that go along in cyberbullying and any type of bullying actually, but specifically, we are looking to raise a generation now of, again, the language and terminologies change, but upstanders, I've heard, defenders. There are several other roles in bullying that take place, the reinforcer role, the assister, the outsider, somebody who's just sitting around on the outside, and we want to raise a generation of defenders. We want to raise a generation of upstanders, people who are going to stand up and take a different approach to bullying. And several districts have approached this in innovative manners, and we're going to continue to approach this topic as well too. We're going out to schools all around Sussex and Morris counties, talking about all the bullying types, particularly cyberbullying, as it seems to be so popular right now. But we're going to continue to talk about this throughout the presentation.
But one more thing I do want to add, though, when it comes to cyberbullying, keep in mind that in due time, since they are individuals are dealing with loneliness, after an increase of loneliness, it can lead to depression, it can lead to anxiety, and then from that point, we're going upstream. Where does it go from there? Unfortunately, it can go to suicidal ideation. Okay, yeah, I know that's a heavy load, but it does lead to that point. It can.
Excellent point. Thank you. All right, some things to consider. Surgeon General advises restricting social media use for youth until the age of 13 years old. There's no real consensus right now. We were expanding this analogy before of what things are like right now with access to social media, and it's really like nothing else that's ever existed before. So, but let's try to put it into some terms of something that we've been through as a culture, as a society. We have all these fast cars now. We have that can do amazing things. There's all these safety features involved in these cars. They can go speeds that they couldn't go. Well, let's say we had all these cars that were available to us, and it's back in 1910, 1915. Highway system hasn't been developed yet. There's been no Civil Corps of Engineers building out these roads. This is really what we're dealing with right now. There's not the infrastructure in place to properly manage and safely provide safe access for our young children at this time. So I know it's a bit of a tortured analogy, but there is some truth to it. The guardrails are not yet in place. So right now that burden falls to family members, to parents. It's a very difficult role. So let's say you have a child right now and your child's already utilizing social media. They're not 13 yet. We're not here to shame anybody. We're not here to say that you did anything wrong. These are just the recommendations from Surgeon General. And you have to decide what's realistic for your family. It's also a suggestion that new novices to social media start with 30 minutes a day, and if possible, that 30 minutes should be supervised. It's really important that you observe what your child is observing and go over the lessons to be learned from there. There's a lot. there's a lot of really interesting things on the internet. There's a lot of scary things, and there's a lot of really just strange things. And you know they're going to come across them at some point. So it's really important that you're the one providing that filter.
Because let's think of it this way. If it's free for everyone, who's it really geared towards? Really think about that.
Yeah, it's been brought up a few times, but if you're on these free services, you have to start thinking that you are the product being sold. There's no such thing as free access to these things. So it's access to you that's being sold and monetized right now. That's the scary part right now. We do not want these mega corporations to be the ones to be the arbiters of what's safe for a teenage youth. Actually, for anybody, for that matter, now that I think of it.
All right. Excessive social media use can lead to inability to disconnect, poor grades or work performances, loss of interest in former hobbies, isolation from friends and family. So I'll give you a quick example of a few. So right back when we talked about the extra hour of screen time. So that could have been time where some of the students could have been studying for an exam, or maybe just going into a tutoring session and choose not to. So now grades are starting to perform a little bit lower than expected. Loss of interest in hobbies instead of making that extra run during track practice. Oh, you know what, let me just sit here on my phone. I gotta post this, I have to do this, I have to do that. And then they lost that 30 minutes because it flies by just like this. Isolation from friends and family. My favorite example that I love to provide is the holidays. The time where Christmas comes or Thanksgiving, everyone's at the table, everyone's opening gifts, but you have one that says, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and quickly runs upstairs and sees what everyone else is doing on the holidays, instead of engaging, enjoying the moments that they have with their loved ones. They're isolating themselves, they're losing that valuable opportunity to spend with loved ones, but they're spending it on something else that's not going to affect them personally directly. And that's something that can be excessive. That can be something that disconnects. It's disconnecting from their present reality. And that's something that is very suicidal. And we have to take into account.
Yeah, as a young person, you don't have the experience to develop that balance yet. That balance needs to come externally. I guess perhaps it's there's some people who are better at navigating it than others, but it's going to come from the difficult job of parenting a child in this day and age, in this digital age. All right, so increasing rates of depression. This is tied specifically to studies from the CDC over the years of 2017 through 2023, and with regards to social media use. But depression rates are highly gendered. They are impacting younger teenage girls more. We talked about the comparative aspect of social media before and how that seems to impact girls at a higher rate. In 2017, 1 in 5 teenage girls between the ages of 12 and 17 experienced a major depressive episode. 2021, 3 in 5 teenage girls felt persistent sadness, and that is double the rate of boys. It's bad out there for boys already. It appears that it's at times twice as bad for teenage girls. 2021, that's 25% of girls. That's an extremely high percentage had a suicidal plan in place. We're going to talk a little bit more about suicidality in just a bit.
I do have a few things I'd like to add.
Oh, please.
Just keep in mind, everyone, these are what's reported. Okay, so I do want to mention when it comes to the boys, the young men, that they may be having these experiences or even more, but they're not being reported. They're not mentioning these things. Another point I'd like to add as well, recently in 2023, that 69% of gay and lesbian bisexual teens undergo severe sadness and major depression as well. 69%. Okay. All right. So now, mental health risks. 46% of adolescents aged 13 to 17 said social media makes them feel worse. 40% said it makes them feel neither better nor worse. Only 14% said it makes them feel better. This exactly comes from not only just the CDC, but also we have a youth advisory committee as well. And they're mentioning to us some of these statistics from their personal experiences as well. And these are very alarming. It says a lot. They have it, you're thinking they're enjoying it, but in reality, they're not much so enjoying it. They feel like they're having to use it because this is what's going on, this is the trend. If you don't have it, then you're missing out, you're not following what's up, what's new, and yet they are suffering severely. 46%, that's almost half. That's almost half. And remember, these are what's reported. Keep that in mind as well.
Again, not to belabor the analogy, but this is a necessary. Going without social media is just not realistic at this point. Going without a car in some places is just not realistic at some point. If we had known that the advent of the automobile was going to cause the number of deaths that it does, would we still move forward with the technology? Of course, I'd like to think, of course, we would. But the same thing is going on with social media right now. I mean, between the 46% of adolescents saying that it makes them feel worse, or neither better or worse, we're talking 86% with a negative or neutral response rate to it. That's incredible, absolutely incredible for how popular these sites are.
And that is why the answer is not totally to stop using or getting rid of social media, okay? But rather to be more aware of how it impacts our lives and being mindful of how to use it. Same thing with the analogy that Jonathan was mentioning. Having a car is a luxury, but there's places you have to have a car. At times, the train station might be so far away, or the bus is probably another 5 miles away from the location you need to go to. And so we need to know what to do to keep us safe, how to maintain that way of engagement, but not going excessively. Same thing driving with the vehicle. Putting our seatbelts on, watching the miles per hour. Same way when it comes to social media. Just keep the same tactics. Okay.
So the quote here talks about that stopping social media. There may be some instances where severe restrictions are necessitated, where it may be necessary. And we will talk about that a little bit. We're going to hopefully come up with some alternatives and to limiting the dangers and maximizing the benefits. Here are some tips and tricks. What do you think?
All right, there's a couple of tips and tricks. So I'll start with this here. Eliminate negativity. So unfollowing accounts or hide content that makes you feel upset or uncomfortable. Creating a screen-free time. Set time aside for studying, like we talked about with the poor performance. Eating, or before bed to go and relax and be screen-free. So if you typically have to go to bed, let's say ideally by 10 o'clock, at least by 8:45, 9 o'clock, just put the phone in another room. It's charging, let it sit there, go to sleep, just unwind from the long day that you had, whether you're a student, whether you're a caregiver, you had a long day. You had a long day. You need to allow yourself to not think about what's going on outside and just allow yourself to get in tune again with what's going on inside, within yourself. Taking breaks, logging out of the accounts when you feel overwhelmed or at a stressful capacity. So you could be busy doing so many things in the day and you're like, oh wait, but I have to see this notification that I just got, or I have to make sure I know, what this person just said in their reel. No, it's okay. You can wait. If anything, just turn all the notifications off. The app is still there. You can just turn off the notification. Okay.
Very good. One of the things I did want to point out is that as we're doing educational sessions in schools, these are the tips that we're providing for students. So by presenting them here, we know that you may already know these, that these are things that you're aware of, but as long as these tips are reinforced, that's really that's the best chance we have of impacting behavior. So I do want to point out a couple of the other ones that we didn't mention was finding a balance. Social media, of course, can be a stress reliever and a self-care strategy when balanced with other life events. But if you're just sitting there doing, what do they call it, hate scrolling, rage scrolling, all that kind of thing, if you're just mindlessly wasting your time looking through things that are not making you happy and providing no value to you, it's crossed over the line and become something that's detrimental. Let's see, you talked about creating screen-free time, using a timer. This is very effective. This is something that you can, through technology, utilize on your child's phone. You can also do this for yourself as well too. Those limit setting devices are there for a reason. Control your use. If you find it easy to look, easy to lose track of time, and yes, that's exactly what these sites are designed to do, is to help you lose track of time. Spend more time, and you spend more time scrolling than intended. Please utilize that. Set a timer. Take lots of breaks, and as we talked about before, eliminate negativity. Log out of the accounts that cause you that bring no joy to you whatsoever, that are filmed with negativity.
All right, let's continue. So,
mind if I start on this one?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Updating your privacy settings, making sure that only the people that you want to see your posts, your online media presence, your persona online, this is critically important. This is a safety feature, and it's going to be very necessary to talk to your child about this. And this is what we want to encourage as much as possible, is the pre-work, having the conversation before incidents happen. This is the most important part of the tips and tricks, is doing the pre-work, making sure that you're the one that you or any of the other trusted adults in your family, I should say, are the ones that are engaging these conversations and share those experiences with your child. Let's see. I also wanted to talk about adapting self-care strategies, encouraging your child to adopt self-care strategies. This is going to look very different for every single family, but it's a really important conversation to have. Let them know the dangers of too much social media use.
Yes, and back when Jonathan mentioned about updated privacy settings, allow yourself the opportunity, the grace to understand that it is okay to sit with your child. It is okay to have that one-on-one. They're going to have questions. They're going to be like, why is it this way? Why can't we do this? And it's okay to have that bond, because that's what we're encouraging the child to talk to a trusted adult. It could be yourself. It could be another individual in the home. It could be a school counselor. It could be anyone that they view or you have advised to them to be their trusted adult. Asking questions, discussing social media, what their concerns are, what they're seeing, their safety. Okay, their safety, their safe space is what's important. Okay, encouraging your child to talk to friends, having conversation about what's trending. Is what's trending out there important? What's going on in here? Is what's trending out there is what's going on or important in here, in the values and the beliefs that you would like them to continue to carry on moving forward. Okay, those are things that really need to be encouraged when you're having conversations. It can get awkward. It can be, well, you don't get it, but guess what? If you have that connection sooner, you allow them the grace, the opportunity to ask questions, to engage with you, it will be a no-brainer. But the conversations have to start first before we just say social media. It has to start first.
Yeah, don't miss the opportunities. They're happening right now. This is a tough one. When rules are broken, we talked a little bit before about how the urge might be to take away all access, and I can quite frankly understand that urge. We're not advocating, and again, we're you know your family better than anybody else, so we're certainly not telling you how to run things in your own home. Just pointing out what the data shows and what seems to work best. So when rules are broken, limiting access, but making it a conversation with your child. It's perhaps taking the easy way out, just to remove the device, remove access to it. But there's always workarounds, first of all. I'm always wary of thinking that you've won the day and then finding out that
they're
there's
creating fixers, so they're creating fake accounts.
Yeah.
So you thought you caught them, like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah. A very important part of this conversation is to communicate the length of time that any limitations are going to take place, and what your expectations are for how to earn back access. It's in perhaps the heat of the moment is not the best time to have that conversation. If you are using this in a manner that is supposed to be a punishment, but don't lose the opportunity, as we were saying before. Don't lose the opportunity to have that conversation.
And prohibiting high-risk apps. So, for example, TikTok and Snapchat. So one of the things I do recall when it comes to these specific applications, you post something and immediately it's gone. But it's actually not gone. It's somewhere way in a cloud. So it's never gone. Okay, it might be gone your phone, your device, but it's actually not gone. So having these two specifically as a discussion will be great because now those are the ones that's trending. So they might say, my friends have it, why can't I? If I can have the Instagram, but why can I also have this? So when you do prohibit these risks, you're prohibiting them from even getting the idea that it's okay to just quickly post something and assume it's gone. That's number one. Number two, use protection apps. So example, Canopy. So this app, you can download it on your phone and you can download it on your child's phone or the youth's phone. Now, what's the benefit of this app? I'll let you know. So the benefit of this app is this. If the youth or the child is going to send an inappropriate photo, whether it's themselves or whether someone sent it to them, that picture gets alerted on their phone, and then they have to double check saying yes or no if they want to submit it. You also get an alert as well, meaning there was something inappropriate that went into their phone, and now you don't know what it is, but you know something's there. You will be able to see if they already accepted it because it's going to select, it's either if they choose yes or no. And then if they choose no, then the alert goes on. If they choose yes, then it goes to your phone, and then you'll know what you want to handle in your household when that time comes. But also keep in mind, it goes the same way when if someone were to send it to them as well. It's not just one way. If they send, they receive it as well. You'll be able to get the alert. Okay.
Sounds like it's time to have a conversation at that point. But
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think there's another application, another protective app called Bark that operates in a similar fashion too. But they're out there. Research. Can you think of anything more important to research?
Now, active listening. Let's see here. Remember, we talked about conversation. We talked about dialogue. We talked about engaging, allowing your child, allowing the youth the opportunity just to hear your thoughts. Okay? So active listening is a tool to improve communication with your child. It lets your child know that you are interested in what they have to say and what they say is important to you. So you give your child your full attention. You leave enough time. You do not interrupt them. You try not to. You might hear something. You may hear something. You're like, wait a minute. Just let them finish. Maybe the rest of that sentence, they might surprise you in a good way. Okay? Listen without judging or jumping to conclusions. Use body language to show that you're listening. So let's say you're sitting with your legs crossed. Maybe you might sit with your like this. Or maybe you might sit with your arm like this. However you feel comfortable to allow them to know that you're welcoming this conversation. You're welcoming the feelings that they're expressing. Find those types of body language etiquettes so they can feel comfortable and also to stay calm. So that last one, I am stressing it to stay calm because, like I said, you may hear something that you didn't think you'd hear, but it could be good or bad. Maybe you might have heard that they said a friend did this, and you're like irking, nervously thinking, uh-oh, are they thinking of doing it? And you'd be surprised if they say, well, I didn't think it was cool. You have to allow them that opportunity to pass on to you what you've been telling them. But you have to actively be engaging and actively listening in order for that to happen.
Good point. So it reminds me a little bit about motivational interviewing and how difficult it can be at times to resist the urge to go into problem-solving mode.
Yes.
To just jump into, I'm hearing something I don't like, and I'm going to tell you what you have to do,
Yes.
and we're going to fix this problem right now. Please resist that urge. I mean, what we're trying to do right now is to establish healthy habits, and quite frankly, your child is going to see things on the internet that are going to be uncomfortable. It's going to happen. So what we want to do is foster an environment where they feel comfortable coming to you and asking you questions about it, bringing it up with you.
Just keep in mind that if anything else, this needs to be emphasized. Trying your best to just listen. Best believe they have a lot of things they want to express to you. Maybe concerns, maybe things that are new, maybe things they want to try. And it's good to at least give them the opportunity so they can say it to you versus them posting it and you're finding it out elsewhere. Okay.
Boundaries, limitations. This is difficult. Developing a balance between your boundaries and your expectations while respecting your child's privacy.
That's a good one.
Yeah. This. If we had a room full of folks right now, I would open this up to a large scale discussion because there's a lot of dialogue to be had about what is an appropriate amount of privacy for your child, and depending on age, by what they've a level of maturity that they've been able to establish and demonstrate to you, and just what's appropriate for where you live, where you're coming from right now. Another question. These are meaty questions. To follow or not to follow? That is the question on your
Shakespeare.
on your child's social media presence. Recommend having this conversation. Do they want you as an active follower, perhaps interacting in the sphere of social media? Anything else you want to add to that? This is a heavy conversation.
Pretty heavy, but I mean, I do want to say that, like you said, it's good to have that conversation. It's good to engage, but also keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, fakesters, they can create a separate account. So you might be following them thinking, oh, they didn't post anything. They're just posting these small little things. It's minuscule. It's not much. And create another account. That's why the conversation opens the door. So if they do feel comfortable with you following them, or if they might be comfortable with you following them, but you might want to post something, but they don't want you to be tagged. They don't want their friends to see that, oh, your mom posted this, or your sister posted this of me. So it's all about what you feel comfortable with in your household, what parameters you feel that it's okay and safe, but also keeping in mind the engagement. As long as there's a conversation, then everything will be fine. Little by little, step by step. It is a process. It is a journey. Just like when you're going to get a car, it is a process. It is a journey. You didn't just go and start the car and start driving. So it's the same thing with social media on that note.
Ask yourself the question too: what are you trying to accomplish in following, in your monitoring of the social media online presence? What are you really looking to do? I mean, there's obvious answers here: keeping my child safe, and I wouldn't begrudge any parent wanting to go full in on safety, but at the same time, you're trying to foster smart decision making, because you're not always going to be there. You're not always going to be able to put your finger on the scales and make sure that your child is making the right decisions. So again, it goes back to the active listening. It goes back to doing the pre-work of having these conversations before you find yourself in those awkward conversations, feeling caught off guard. But back to the active listening also, be calm. Take these things as they come, and your ability to stay calm is going to benefit future conversations about these things as they come up as well.
If anything, always have like a stress ball. That's what I do. Have a stress ball, a little fidget. Just, they know that you're attentive. They know that you're listening. But just have something with you just to help you in case if you do hear something that maybe you weren't prepared for that day or that night. All right, so social media family style, family edition. So just to make things a little bit easier. So fun rules during a family game night. So I came up with this rule with my niece when I was playing with her on Monopoly. So she was on her phone, so I told her, if you go on your phone while I'm winning, or while we're playing, either or, whoever could be winning.
I guess you were winning, yeah.
Yes, at the time I was. So every time I see you on your phone, I'm going to take $5 out of the amount of money that you made from the game of Monopoly. So she did. She lost it twice, so $10. So I said, all right, I'll be fair. I took $5, so $5 equated to 5 days of doing the dishes. So $1 represented 1 day of doing dishes. So that was my style for her. That was my trick. Okay? Another one could be least amount of screen time for the week wins. Maybe on Friday, free Friday. So you get to choose, well, do you want to have pizza for the evening? Do you want to have pasta? Do you want to go to Applebee's? Or do you want to go to Papa John's? So it all depends on what you feel comfortable having. Okay, that's another trick. That's another easy way to keep the family engaged, but also lessening the amount of screen time.
Engaging is the key here, with a couple of these suggestions as well too. I mean, the overarching goal here is to get a reduction in social media use. All the studies show that that reduced use is going to benefit your child's mental health. So we'll have this discussion. What was the most interesting post you saw today? I know it's difficult. Notice that it's not a yes or no question. It's an open-ended question. We're trying to get as much interaction about what our children are seeing online as possible. So have these conversations. Sharing positive and inspiring posts. What is the most positive? What is the most inspiring post that you saw today? Have that conversation with your child. Let's see, encouraging your child. We talked about the cyberbullying before. Make sure that your child is a positive online presence. It's going to be really difficult to monitor them at all times, but if you're instilling them with your morality when you're having these conversations, you can be more assured that they're going to be responding to online situations in a way that you'd be proud of them for.
Especially, I do want to add one more thing when it comes to cyberbullying. Keep in mind, cyberbullying is another extension from what? Bullying, which can fall underneath the big umbrella of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and there are protective characteristics from that umbrella. So it's also a law, okay? So we have not to discriminate or to harass individuals based off of race, based off of gender, sexual identity, based off religion, based off of culture, and all of the above from there. And so that's something that we're really stressing. Allow them to learn it's okay to be a hero. It is okay. But it's not okay to be the one that's the villain.
Good point.
All right? And then creating family challenges. So on Instagram, you can create some, or even TikTok as well, family challenges where they're like, you can create like activities together as a family and then post it. So examples could be, who's gonna laugh first? So you try to stare at each other until someone cracks. They just start like giving a little smirk. Or even another one could be just everyone just dancing together. Like Simon says, but in dance style. Just find different ways to bring the family into the new world. It's possible. But it's only possible if you do the active listening, active engaging, learning your child, understanding the different things of what they're liking. Because there's something they're liking maybe we didn't know about. So when we go back into what's the interesting post you saw today, maybe it's something to do with politics. You never know. It could be something that brought their attention. Sharing positive, inspiring posts. Maybe it could have been a quote from, I don't know, Oprah. You never know. It could have been something that resonated with the child, and they take it and they want to share it or they want to talk more about it. They comment about it. That's all. There's so many ways where in social media it can be uplifting if there's an engagement to understand the purpose of what it can go for. Okay?
We were spitballing these over the last couple of days, and I was really curious to hear what families are using in their own homes. So thank you for attending. I wish we could have a back and forth about this one, as there's so many just good questions coming up here.
So fill your feed with self-care ideas for the body, stretching, drinking water, the mind, reading, challenging yourself, okay? This one here, a team of emergency responders and their rescue dogs are helping to save lives after earthquake in Morocco. So there could be some positive attributes here. I mean, if you think about it, this is for one person's experience. Maybe, I don't know, for me, I volunteer Jersey Cures with my niece. So anytime there's an activity of charity work, we can post that up there. Allow them to learn that there's different works that you can do and you can share that knowledge. Letting other people know this is another form of engagement that's positive that you can do, okay? Give the gifts of happy news, all right? Anything that's new and exciting that's happening around the world could be something that they're interested in, all right? And even with the colors, what are you today? Are you blue? Are you purple? Did you have any failures yesterday? Or did you have any weaknesses? Anything that's positive, you can just throw a color. Anything that might be a little bit, I wasn't too happy today. You could put a color, select something, but then comment saying a good quote that resonates with them. Okay?
There are so many aspects of social media right now that are catering towards mindfulness. It's just, you have to just go out and look for them. The flip side of this, of course, is removing the negative content.
Yes.
It's easier said than done, perhaps, but it does make a difference. So let's talk about some resources that are available. At the MHA, we have a program called Team Connect. You are not alone. Get connected to free support. This is a phone consultation service that's run by youth, for youth. These are trained individuals, and you can call anytime on Monday through Friday between 5 and 10 p.m. The numbers are here. We have some handouts for that as well, too. There are so many resources out there. There are so many things that are available to to the family that's interested in finding them. We're not going to talk about it all that much today, but there are also, I mean, if we're dealing with mental health crises, there are mobile crisis screeners program. A lot of these ones that are up on the board right now, up on the screen right now, are geared for before things become a crisis. So I hope everyone by now is familiar with the 988 national hotline. There's also texting hotlines. There's any way that you want to possibly get in touch with somebody to get help, you absolutely can. The Trevor Project listed here is 24/7 support for LGBTQIA+ community. And let's see, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the Not Okay app for youth that are tech savvy and have a real difference between when they're doing well and not doing well. This app is a way to predetermine a list of supports, essentially. And when your youth child is not doing well, by the push of the button, they can alert all the supports in their network. And has geolocation aspect to it as well, so you know exactly where it's coming from. They have aspects of the apps for mindfulness and for breathing as well too. There's another app that works similarly called the Got Your Back app, I believe it's called as well. There's no shortage of resources out there for individuals who are ready to accept the help, and it's just a matter of spreading the word.
And there's two things I do want to add.
Oh, please go ahead.
So for the Teen Connect, just to keep an idea here, ages 13 to 24 years of age, okay? And then here, ask a friend asks. So what does this app does? So this app allows your youth that if they have a friend that's going through it, and depression, sadness, anxiousness, they don't know what to do, or they don't know if they should say anything to a trusted adult at that very second. They can go on that app, a friend asks. They're asking on behalf for a friend on what to do. Okay.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to thank Danica for our ability to come to the school today and make a presentation to you. Yes. Again, NJ4S is available. We are expanding. This is a brand new program. This is our first school year that we're operating. And I just wanted to open it up. Danica, did you have anything else that you wanted to impart to our listeners at home?
I just want to thank you. This was really informative. There was so much information. I know the presentation is going to be posted online so people can look through it, and I believe the recording will be posted as well in our district special services page of the main website, and so people will be able to view it afterwards, and we'll send out a link for that as well.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. Just anything else you want to say, teacher?
Thank you so much, and please engage. That's my big takeaway, engage, because there's constantly something new coming out. If it's not TikTok, it's not Snapchat, it's not if it's not TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Meta, that used to be Facebook. Oh goodness. And then now there's Roblox. So there's always something to keep up with you. So just engage. The more you engage, the more you're gonna know, the more it's gonna feel safety within yourself as well with your child and children.
We'd love your feedback as well. So if you have the opportunity,
Please use the QR code.
The QR code or the Survey Monkey. It'd be really helpful, and we're looking to identify topics so we can go out to schools as well too. So there's an ongoing dialogue as we speak right now. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.